Hey everybody, this is Reapy Ron, and today we are taking on another big tier list. This is going to be for Killing Floor 2's perk skill list. So this is, depending on which perk or class or whatever you want to call it, how good their skills are. And I'm not going to necessarily be comparing them against one another. I'm just going to be going down the class line, and I am going to have to be explaining some of these because I've noticed that multiple of these use the exact same icon. So keep that in mind, and this list might kind of look like a mess by the end of it. Let's start off with Berserker, and Berserker's level 5 perks are Dreadnought, which is this one, and Skirmisher. Let's talk about Dreadnought first. Dreadnought is very basic. It just gives you 75% more HP, so you get 75 more HP. This is a great perk for beginners to take because it just makes you more tanky. It's pretty good for advanced players to take too because it just makes you more tanky. It's pretty forgiving. And like it's, I believe, the highest amount of health boost out of any of the health boosting perks. I'm going to put this one probably right up into A tier. It's quite good. Oh, and I didn't realize that that would look like that when I put it there. Okay, that might make this a little bit more difficult too. Alright, up next we have Skirmisher. Skirmisher for Berserker gives you 20% increased movement speed and 25% sprint speed when holding out a melee weapon, or holding out, it says melee weapon, but it's actually any perk weapon, so you can hold the nail gun out and still run really fast. They have changed that. It used to not work for ranged weapons like the nail gun and the Tesla launcher, but it does now. So you still get that movement speed, and you regenerate 2 points every second. This is a fantastic perk with Berserker because it gives you increased mobility, which is a really, really good thing in this game. And passively regenerating health makes it so you survive for quite a bit longer. You become faster and tankier, and I see no reason not to put this into S tier. It's a very good perk. It's not as, I guess, new player friendly as Dreadnought, because Dreadnought's so straightforward, but both of them are really good options for Berserker to take at level 5. Next, we're going to talk about Commando's level 5s. Commando has tactical reload or high capacity magazines, which are these. So let's talk about tactical reload first. Tactical reload increases the reload speed of all of your weapons. Now, tactical reload actually increases your reload speed by about 30%, I believe. Increased reload speed is really nice. It's a pretty useful perk. A lot of people have pointed out, though, you don't need it because if you get good at reload canceling, you can still reload about the same speed that this gives you. You can reload it even faster, though, if you effectively do that with this. This weapon, or this perk on Commando is decent. I think I'm going to put it probably in C tier. It's fine. It's a pretty decent perk, but it's nothing amazing. It's just useful. Up next is high capacity magazines. This increases all perk weapons magazine by 50%. So it makes it so a lot of weapons become more consistent. The Scar gets 30 rounds, which helps it. The AK gets 40, is it 40 rounds, 45 rounds? I can't remember, which is pretty useful. It increases the Stoner's ammo by quite a lot. I think it goes up to 113. Minigun as well. This one is pretty good. Like, more ammo in your magazine is always a nice thing. I don't know if I'd put it necessarily above. I think I'd put it higher up in C tier than the tactical reload, but not above C tier because they don't have any like insane properties like the Berserker ones did. So let's move on from Commando to Support. So Support has high capacity magazines or tactical reload to pick from. High capacity magazines is this one. It gives you 50% more ammo. 50% more ammo is nice. It's actually less nice on Support than it is on Commando, though, because only a certain amount of weapons actually use it. I should say not all Support weapons use this. You don't get extra ammunition if you're using the double barrel, the doomstick, or the buckshots. If you're using anything else, you do get increased at magazine capacity, but this isn't necessarily always a good thing with certain weapons, like any of the tube-fed shotguns, the pump shotgun, the Dragon's Breath, the M4. Having a large magazine on them is great until you need to reload, and then it can take you a while. This works much better for clip-fed magazines like the HZ-12, the Medic Shotgun, and the AA-12. So if you like using those weapons, it's pretty good. but I think it's still going to go to C tier. Like, it still has value to it. It's just it's not nearly as valuable as like the Commando's increase is. And then the increased reload speed, I believe this is also 20 or 30%. This affects all shotguns, and this is pretty nice, but it also isn't anything crazy. It just makes your shotguns feel a bit more consistent. So I'm going to put it right next to Commando's faster reloads. They feel about the same, but you could argue this is better for support since all of their shotguns benefit from it, whereas not necessarily all the assault rifles. Well, I guess all the assault rifles benefit from it too. It's just the assault rifles all benefit from larger magazines too, not necessarily the shotguns. So, but they're probably on the same level. All right, up next we got Medic, and they have Symbiotic Healing and Resilience. So Symbiotic Healing gives you 25% more HP, and healing your teammates allows you to get 10% of the health you heal back to you. That is really, really strong with Medic, because you're going to be wanting to heal your teammates, and this just makes it so you're surviving longer, your teammates are surviving longer, and you don't necessarily need to prioritize enemies that are directly in front of you. You might want to prioritize healing over killing things. So that's really good, and this is a really good perk. I think I'm going to put it probably into high A tier. It's very strong. And then we have Resilience, which Resilience increases your damage resist by 1% for every point of HP that you've lost below 50% of your max. But up to 50%. So once you hit half health, that's the maximum amount of damage resist that you will get. This one is also really good. This one isn't as useful for the team, but it does make you even tankier. It makes it so you can survive virtually any situation that doesn't just 100 to 0 you. You can survive the Matriarch's laser for longer. You can survive, I think, a full combo from the King Flesh Pound. I don't think he can kill you. Assuming you're at full health, and I don't think you need armor, but assuming you're at full health, that's still necessary. So I mean, it just gives you extra survivability, which is nice too. It's not as useful as Symbiotic Healing, so I'm going to put it, I think it's still probably A tier, but it's lower A tier than Symbiotic Healing. Still a very good perk. Up next we have Demo, and they have Bombardier and Shock Trooper. Now, Bombardier just increases your overall damage with explosive weapons by 25%. That is pretty good because all of the explosive weapons have really high damage, so increasing their damage even more is just really nice. And I think I'm going to put it into B tier. It's a really good bonus damage perk. Bonus damage is always nice. The Shock Trooper gives you faster reload speed, which again is, I believe, 20 or 30%, with increasing your knockdown power by 10%. Now, explosives already have a really high amount of knockdown power, and you don't really need another 10% to it, but, I mean, it can't hurt. Reloading faster does affect certain weapons a lot. Most weapons feel pretty decent with this perk, but I think I'm still going to put it probably into C tier. I mean, it's useful. Up next, we have Firebugs perks. This is Bring the Heat and High Capacity Fuel Tanks. So, Bring the Heat increases your fire damage by 35%. That is pretty good. Increased damage is always nice, and 35% is a pretty decent buff, so I'm going to put Bring the Heat probably in B tier, and then we have High Capacity Fuel Tanks. This actually increases your total tank capacity, which includes clip capacity, by 100%. This makes all of Firebug's weapons feel quite a bit better. Having a 200 fuel flamethrower is pretty awesome. Having a Husk Cannon that you regularly need to reload is pretty good. The MAC-10 with 64 rounds in it is awesome. Spitfires with 24 rounds in them before you need to reload is pretty great. This is actually one of the biggest, I think this is actually the biggest magazine capacity increase out of any of the weapons. And I think I'm also going to put this high up in B tier. It's really good. It's a really nice quality of life perk. It doesn't affect all of Firebug's weapons, though, because the Scorcher does not get an extra shot in it. I think that's the only one that it doesn't affect, but everything else it affects, and like if you like using like the Incendiary Rifle or the Spitfires or Dragon's Breath, this one does make them feel quite a bit better. Oh, also Helios Rifle. Helios Rifle with 80 rounds in it feels awesome with this. All right, up next we have Gunslinger. And Gunslinger has Steady and Quick Draw. So Steady ignores movement speed penalty when aiming down sights with any of your guns, and increases your damage by 7.5% when aiming down sights. You also dramatically reduce the weapon bob with perk weapons. Essentially, this is just a recoil control perk, and it's honestly really not that good. Like the bonus damage, it's only 7.5%. It doesn't affect most of your weapons that much at all. The recoil control only really affects weapons like the Glock 18. That's the one that it really affects, and that's about it. Most of the other guns are pretty controllable because as you level up naturally with Gunslinger, you get recoil reduction, so it's not that big of a deal. It's okay early on if you want to take it, though. If you want to get more of the feel of what it's going to be once you level up Gunslinger to a higher level, but later on it falls off really bad. I think this one's actually probably D tier. It really doesn't do much. I mean, you're taking it just to take the Glock 18 or dual Glock 18s, and that's about it. All right, and then we have Quick Draw. Quick Draw reduces recoil penalty for shooting from the hip and increases movement speed by 5%. It also makes it so you switch weapons 50% faster. Switching weapons faster is always nice. It makes a lot of your weapons feel more consistent. You're more encouraged to switch between them. Running and gunning from the hip is pretty much like the preferred style of Gunslinger anyway, so you have the reduced recoil penalty, which is nice, and 5% increased movement speed is really nice. Gunslinger already moves really fast, and bonus movement speed is great. I think this is probably like a B tier perk, though. It's not nearly as impactful as like Skirmisher is, but it's still a pretty decent all-around perk. And then we have Sharpshooter's perks, which is Sniper and Marksman. Now, both these perks kind of dictate what playstyle you enjoy. So let's talk about Sniper. Sniper increases your damage by 25% when you are stationary with your perk weapons. This is a lot of damage because Sharpshooter's weapons already have a lot of damage, but standing in place does mean you literally root yourself in place and cannot move from that if you want the bonus damage from this. Marksman increases your shooting speed by 25%, which is your rate of fire, but honestly, it's not that impactful because most of Sharpshooter's weapons don't shoot real fast. And it increases your movement speed by 10%. I should probably rank Sniper first. Sniper with its damage is pretty nice, especially on long maps. If you are aware of where it's safe to sit, then Sniper is really, really good. In other maps, Sniper is really, really bad. So if you're in a very tight enclosed map and you still want to play Sharpshooter, you don't want to take Sniper most of the time. It's just going to be really hard for you to make the most use out of it. So this is more map dependent than anything. The damage increase is pretty nice though, and I think I'll probably put it into probably B tier. It seems about there. And then Marksman with the increased movement speed by 10% actually gives you a lot more survivability with Sharpshooter, and it's much better on more enclosed maps. And if you favor a run and gun style, then it's pretty good too. I mean, increased movement speed is always good, so I think I'm going to put it into B tier. Next, we have SWAT, which has heavy armor training and tactical movement. Heavy armor training makes it so that while you have body armor, you cannot take health damage, except from sonic attacks from the sirens. It also makes it so clots can't grab you, which is a pretty nice advantage. And at the start of the game, you start out with 50% more armor. So you start out with 50% armor, which is great. You can't be grabbed. You can't take health damage while you have it. All of this is pretty good for SWAT, and it makes a pretty decent perk early on. I don't think it's as good as some of the healing perks and more tanky perks, but I think it's still probably high up into B tier. It's a pretty good perk for level 5. Now, tactical movement makes it so you have no movement penalty when using iron sights or crouch movement. This is honestly not that useful, mostly because, yes, crouching does allow you to have the least amount of recoil when firing any of the weapons, which is pretty good for SWAT. Most of their weapons don't tend to have a ton of recoil, though. They're pretty manageable, and it's usually not a situation where you want to be crouching the whole time and crouch walking everywhere. You usually want to still be up and sprinting and running around so that you can kind of see what's going on and move to a better position, and then crouch when you think that it's a good idea. This perk is another one that I don't think is really all that good. I know a lot of SWATs take it, but I honestly think that heavy armor training is all around better than it. So I think I'm also going to put this one probably in D tier. I don't think it's super great. Our next perks are from Survivalist, and we have Tactical Reload and Heavy Weapons Training. Now, Tactical Reload increases the reload speed of Commando, Gunslinger, and SWAT weapons. Heavy Weapons Training increases reload speed with Demo, Sharpshooter, and Support weapons. So you're picking which weapons you prefer. And there's not really a wrong answer here because you can mix and match how you would like with Sharpshooter. With a Survivalist. So mixing like a Sharpshooter's rifle with a Support shotgun works fine. A Medic AR with a pair of 500s, also fine. I'm going to put both of these probably into C tier. They're nice, but that's about it. They're just kind of nice add-ons to have. I'm not going to say which one's definitely really better than the other one. They're both useful, but actually I think this is... No, that's not it. Apparently there's one more magazine. All right. For whatever reason, Sharpshooters, or for whatever reason, Survivalists' icons stick out in this white color, and I'm not sure why they saved like that, where everything else stayed in the black color. Oh well. Vampire and Butcher. Vampire allows you to get 4 points of health whenever you kill a Zed with a perk weapon. It also increases all of your attacks by 20% with melee weapons, which is really good. This allows you to have higher sustain with Berserker, which is good. There's no real doubt, and like faster attack speed is pretty nice too. I think I'm probably going to put this into B tier, at the high end of B tier. It's a pretty good perk to have. And then we have Butcher, which is increased your attack speed also by 20%, but this time you do 20% more damage. Increased damage and increased attack speed is a win-win. It's probably right next to Vampire, depending on which you prefer. They're both pretty equal, though. 20% more damage might be a little bit higher, in my opinion, because 20% more damage allows you to hit a little bit harder, kill a couple of enemies a little bit quicker, especially when you don't have fully upgraded weapons. Certain weapons like the Hemoclobber feel a bit better with this, but I mean, if you like the more sustain, then Vampire's a good choice too. I don't think they're quite A tier. I don't think they're as useful as like Dreadnought would be if it was down here. Could you imagine that if you had 20% increased attack speed and 75% more health? That would be pretty crazy. All right, up next we have Commandos ones, which are Fallback and Impact rounds. So Fallback increases the damage that you do with your 9mm and your knife by 85%, and it increases your weapon switch speed by 50%. Increasing weapon switch speed is really nice with Commando. It allows you to switch from one weapon to the next, allowing you to extend Z time, which is pretty important for you. And this really helps you in the early waves. The 9mm is actually, I believe, Commando's highest damage per shot weapon, which is interesting. And their knife is pretty useful in the early waves to, get some kills, get some extra dosh. I don't think this is like an incredibly powerful perk, but it's a pretty decent one. It's probably going to go to the top of C tier. Like, yeah, maybe B tier. I think I'm going to put it into B tier. Fall back into B tier because like early on it's pretty good into the wave, and later on the weapon switch speed is still pretty nice. So yeah, can't go wrong there. And then we have Impact rounds, which increases the stumble power of your weapons by 150%. This will allow you to kind of knock Zeds around a bit more. This one honestly isn't way great though. I mean, knocking them around can be useful. It can help your team out a little bit. It's an alright perk, but not one that I really find all that useful. I'm going to put it at the bottom of C tier. I think it's better than D tier, but it's still not that fantastic in my opinion. So supports level 10s are Fortitude, which increases your total health by 50%. That is pretty nice. It makes support quite a bit tankier. And there's no real downside to it. It's just a pretty strong perk overall. Probably also into B tier. Maybe not that high into B tier, but probably right there in B tier. It's a good perk all the way around. Helps you out. And then we have Salvo. Salvo increases all of your shotgun damage by 30%. 30% is quite a bit from shotguns. I think I'll put Salvo pretty much right next to the other damaging increased perks. They're all nice. It's not particularly necessary because shotguns already do high damage, so sometimes going for the extra health is more valuable. But like increased damage is still pretty good. This is another one that is kind of hard to pick between the two because both of them are quite strong. All right, for medics level 10s, we have Adrenaline Shot. Adrenaline Shot, shooting a teammate with a healing dart increases their movement speed by 10% for 5 seconds. This can stack up to a 30% boost. This also, it doesn't say this, but it also goes off of your healing grenades too. So if an ally stands in a healing grenade for what counts for 3 ticks, they'll also get the full movement speed bonus. Movement speed is really important in this game, and increasing your allies' movement speed is great. I don't see any reason why this wouldn't also be into A tier. It's just a really nice perk to have. And then we have Combatant Doctor at level 10 as well, which increases the magazine capacity of all of your perk weapons by 50% and increases your own movement speed by 10%. Now, 10% is kind of nice. Medic already has bonus movement speed, so they don't necessarily need more, but I mean, more is always welcome. 50% larger magazine capacity on medic weapons isn't really necessary either. It helps out with certain ones, like the Hemogoblin really likes this one. Medic Shotgun's pretty good. Like Medic AR gets benefit from it. You always get a benefit from it, but I think I'm going to put this one towards the bottom of B tier. It's still nice, but probably not as good, at least in a team setting, as Adrenaline Shot. Obviously, if you don't have a team, then this one's better, but we're going to go off the assumption that you do have a team, and we're building for that. Next up is Demos, which is high impact rounds. So when you hit a direct hit with any of your weapons, you do 25% bonus damage. That's pretty nice. I mean, it's increased damage again. I don't see any reason why it shouldn't go right next to the grenade. Increased in damage is always nice. Stacking these definitely makes them better, I would say. So if you stack these together, maybe they would go up to like A tier then, because you're increasing your damage by so much more. But by itself, it's still a pretty decent perk. Not entirely needed with demo, but very much appreciated. And then we have Extra Rounds. Extra Round makes it so you have 5 more ammo with all of your perk weapons besides C4. This one, demo can somewhat suffer from an ammo problem because you can go through ammo pretty quickly. 5 extra rounds, though, usually isn't going to help you a whole ton. Yes, it is nice to have 5 extra RPGs, but aside from that, all the other weapons still are fine without the larger magazine, and it kind of sucks that it doesn't count for C4 as well. I think I'm going to probably put this one into D tier. It honestly doesn't help you out that much. Barbecue. This increases the burn effect of all your weapons by 150%. So it increases more damage over time, and they take more damage over time. This is alright. It's good with certain weapons, like the flamethrower, the microwave gun, any low damage weapon that is banking more on that damage over time effect. It also helps increase some of the weapons like the MAC-10 and the Dragon's Breath a little bit. It's not really like a bad perk, but it doesn't always help you the most, and I think I'm going to put this one somewhere into C tier. I guess higher up than the reloading ones, but it's still it's kind of okay. And then we have Ground Fires. Ground Fire makes it so the ground fire that you start on the ground triples in damage, and it reduces all Z movement that step in the ground fire by 30%. This is actually really useful, especially with certain weapons like the flamethrower. It can really slow down Zeds quite a bit. It's very noticeable, and the increased ground fire damage completely destroys all the small Zeds. This one's a pretty good perk, and it provides a lot of good utility. I think this one, for the team, I think it's actually like maybe low A tier. It does help out the team quite a bit, although it can hurt the team sometimes too. So I think low A tier, maybe it'd be high B tier. I'm not too sure about this one. All right, Gunslinger. We've got Rack 'em Up, which makes it so each consecutive headshot you get 10% more damage, up to 50%. These do decay over time though, and this really rewards headshot damage, and it is a big increase into damage. I think Rack 'em Up is probably going to go to A tier. It's very good. I guess I'd put it somewhere here. I don't know. It's a very useful perk, and if you can consistently hit headshots, then it really pays out. Up next, we have Bone Breaker, which increases all perk weapon damage by 20% and inflict 30% more damage when shooting the arms and legs. This, like, 20% is kind of nice, but then doing 30% more damage when firing at arms and legs, you're not aiming for the head. You want to be aiming for the head with Gunslinger more so than a lot of other classes. The only real use this one has is fighting the Patriarch, because his weak spot is his arm. So hitting him there just makes more sense. You'll do more damage with this than you would potentially with Rack 'em Up. I'm not sure about that. But this one is better for newer players that can't hit headshots, but even so, practicing headshots will probably help you out more and just going with Rack 'em Up. So I think I'm going to put this one probably into D tier as well. It's just like, well, maybe I think I'm going to put this one actually at low end of C tier. I don't think it's quite D tier because increased in damage is just kind of nice. It's just it wants you to play in a playstyle that doesn't really benefit your class as much. So I guess I'd put it there. All right, Sharpshooter has stability, which is increase your damage by 30% and increase movement speed by 50% and reload speed by 20% when crouching with a perk weapon. This goes along well with Sniper because you're already going to be likely sitting in place, and increasing damage is nice. Increasing movement speed when crouched, it's not quite as fast as walking speed still, but it's okay. And then reload speed can be kind of nice with each of the perks. It's honestly just kind of an okay perk. You'll likely take it if you're playing Sniper, or if you just want to get value out of like the faster reload speed, you might want to take it too. So maybe I'd put it like low B tier. It's an okay perk if you like playing in that style. Otherwise, it's not that great. Even if you don't like playing in that style, though, you can crouch down to reload, which is kind of cool. Or at least reload faster with all of your weapons. So, and, you know, maybe you didn't want to take Ballistic Shock, which we're going to talk about next, which is increase the stumble power of all your weapons by 100%. Sharpshooter's weapons already have a pretty good chance of stumbling enemies, at least with certain weapons. Again, it's similar to like Commando's one. They kind of benefit from it, but not really. So this one's probably also going to go right into C tier with the other one. All right, and then with SWAT, we have Close Combat Training, which increases the damage of your 9mm and knife by 85%, and you get to start out with a second 9mm when starting the game. This is pretty useful. It'd be nicer if it had the weapon switch speed like Commando's does, but like starting out with the second pistol is still pretty nice too. It gets you at the very least bonus dash, and it makes the early waves much easier. So this one's probably also going to go into B tier right next to the fallback skill. Both pretty decent skills. And then our other one is Tactical Reload, which is reloading all of your submachine guns by, I believe, 30%. This is also pretty nice. It makes the submachine guns reload really quick because they already reload quite fast. That's also a reason why you might not want to take it, though, because it's just, you already reload pretty quick, so you don't necessarily need it. But it is kind of a nice perk. I'm also going to put it probably into C tier with the rest of the reloading perks. It's fine. Next up is Survivalist level 10. So they have Medic Training, which increases your healing proficiency by 30%, and it reduces the cooldown on your syringe and healing darts by 50%. This is actually a really good perk if you would like to support the team. Bonus healing for yourself and your team is always going to be nice, and this one's probably going to go to A tier. It's quite good. Your other perk here is Melee Expert, which increases your melee attack speed by 20%. You inflict 75% more damage with melee weapons, and you move 25% faster with melee weapons. This one is also really good, and I think it's also probably going to go into A tier. I guess above that, because just being able to have that huge bonus in movement speed makes you feel so much... just so much better just moving from place to place. Like, getting in and out of positions is so nice with Melee Expert. And like, Medic Training is also quite good though too, because if you would like to sit back and heal your team, you're not interested in using melee weapons, it's quite good for them too. Alright, going back to Berserker, we have Resistance. Yeah, Resistance gives you 20% more damage resistance to all damages. It also gets you 20% more resistance towards poison and sonic damage. This is also a pretty nice perk. It's a very beginner-friendly perk, and it's pretty good. I'm probably going to put it probably towards the higher end of A tier. Like, increased damage resistance is always just nice. Then we have Parry, which Parry makes it so when you parry an attack perfectly, you reduce all damage by 40%. You also increase your melee swing speed by 5% and your melee damage by 35% for 10 seconds. This is a really, really strong perk with Berserker when you can use it effectively. And it's especially strong against certain bosses because it effectively allows you to do one parry, have 10 seconds of just nonstop swinging with whatever weapon you have, and then parry again. It really makes Berserker really, really hard to kill. And it's probably going up into A tier. I'm not sure if it's quite S tier. I don't think it's that ridiculous, but it is still pretty ridiculous. If it had a longer timer on it, like if it was for 30 seconds, then it probably would be S tier. But with 10 seconds, it can come off as somewhat of a hassle to constantly need to parry with it. At least if you'd like to keep your damage buff, you don't necessarily need to parry the whole time. Tenacious. This increases your total armor and health by 25%. This just makes you more tanky, and being more tanky is just really nice. This one's probably going to go into A tier. It doesn't give you as much tankiness as some of the other classes, but it's still pretty good with Commando. Oh, I mean, sorry, this is going to go to B tier, not A tier. It doesn't give you as much tankiness as the A tier ones, but it still makes you more consistent, which is really nice. And then we have Prepared, which makes it so you can carry 20% more ammo with each of your weapons. 20% more ammo is pretty good too, at least in the later matches when you need it. Assault rifles don't necessarily need it though. You usually have enough ammo between your two guns to make it through the waves, so it's alright. I actually think that the Tenacious is generally better, at least on higher difficulties. Prepared might be more useful though if you're constantly finding yourself running out of ammo, but I think I'm going to put it into C tier. It's fine. With Support, we have Armor Piercing Rounds, which greatly increase the penetration of your weapons. I believe this is by 100%, so it can go through another enemy. Shotguns already go through multiple enemies anyway. This perk really honestly doesn't help you all that much unless you're fighting on a very particular map where maybe it's like Containment Station where it has long hallways. Like, it still can have some use on larger maps, but it's kind of neglectable. So probably it's probably D tier. It's probably like high D tier, because at least it does have some use, but it's still not that great. And then we have Tight Choke, which decreases your shot spread by 50%. This makes certain shotguns very, very accurate at long ranges, like the AA-12, the Medic shotgun, the M4. All have very great patterns then when you're firing them. Just makes it that much easier for you to hit headshots or hit all pellets on target. Makes the double barrel and like the kaboom, makes the double barrel and like the Doomstick just feel more consistent. It's a pretty good perk, and it's probably going to go into B tier. it's pretty strong. Then we have forced injections from medic, which is shooting teammates with healing darts increases their damage by 5% for 5 seconds, going up to 20% max at total. This is just really good for the team. Increased damage for everybody is nice. I don't necessarily think it's as good as like movement speed for the team, but it's still pretty good. It's probably going to go like into B tier. Pretty good perk overall. Like passive damage with everything is pretty nice. And then we have acidic rounds, which is the other level 15 medic perk, which is perk weapons can now poison Zeds, and poison afflicts more damage over time. This perk really isn't that good. I mean, you're going to take it if you're playing solo just because you can't make use of the focus injections, but in multiplayer, toxic effects usually don't help all that much, and if you really want to toxic things, you can take like the hemoclobber and do it that way. So this one's probably also D tier. It's not all that useful. It is kind of fun, but it's not all that useful. All right, for demo, we have Sonic Resist rounds, which makes it so sirens can't break your ammunition. This one's kind of just a nice quality of life perk for demo, because sirens usually can cause problems with you since all of your weapons are susceptible to them to some extent. So it's probably like C tier. It's still pretty nice, but it doesn't do anything else. So kind of a quality of life perk. And then we have fragmentation rounds, which makes it so you have a 50% larger explosion area. This one's all right too. It's probably also in C tier. It's an okay perk. Certain weapons can make use of it. You can hurt yourself easier though with it. Unless you're using like the kaboom stick or like the grenade pistol or something, then it's just kind of a nice little bonus for them. All right, then for Firebug, we have Napalm. Napalm makes it so burning Zeds that make contact with other Zeds will light them on fire easier, as well as make the flames last longer. This one's an okay perk too. You don't necessarily want to be relying on it, but it's all right. So I think C tier. I think it's an okay perk overall. The other perk that Firebug gets to pick is Zed Shrapnel, and Zed Shrapnel is actually really useful. Whenever you kill any enemy with your fire, you have a 30% chance of that enemy exploding. That explosion will damage all nearby enemies and has a very high stun chance. That makes this very useful. Sometimes it does nothing though. Sometimes you just kill an enemy out in the middle of nowhere and the explosion doesn't do anything. Sometimes it stuns a whole crowd. Sometimes it stuns a Scrake or a Flesh Pound or something like that, and then it's pretty nice. This is a pretty good perk overall, and I think it's probably like low A tier. It's pretty nice to have just those stuns happening randomly. With Gunslinger, we have Line 'em Up, which is you suffer no damage reduction from shooting through Zeds to hit another Zed, and increases the penetration of all perk weapons. I believe this is by a penetration of one more enemy. This perk is kind of useless. Usually you don't need it. Again, it's only kind of useful on like hallways similar to supports. And if you're using like the 500s or something that have high pierce. So like it's probably also D tier. It's not really all that useful. And then we have Speed Loader, which increases the reload speed of all your weapons. That's pretty nice. It just gives you kind of a bonus. It's still probably going to go into C tier with the other reloading perks. It's fine. Like there's no downside to it, and it does make certain weapons feel quite a bit more consistent. You're going to pick it just because you're not going to pick Line 'em Up. All right, for Sharpshooter, we got Rack 'em Up, which is the same exact scaling as the Gunslinger one, so I'm probably also going to put this right into A tier for the same reasons. Gunslinger can make more use of Rack 'em Up than Sharpshooter can. However, Sharpshooter is higher overall damage per shot than Gunslinger, so increasing your damage even further is pretty nice. It also makes certain weapons way more playable with Sharpshooter, like the M14 and the FAL. They get a huge bonus from using this. Other weapons like the railgun and like crossbow and stuff can still get a bonus from this, but it's a little bit more difficult then, because you're likely going to be racking them up with something like the 9mm, then switching over to it, but you can still make it work. And then we have Tactical Reload, which just increases the reload speed of all your weapons, which is again, just nice. And I guess I'm going to put it with the other reloading speeding perks, because you could argue that certain reload speed perks are better for other classes, like specifically support and sharpshooter having more of an advantage with fast reloading than like commando or SWAT, just because they already have weapons to reload fairly quick and the others don't. But like they're just kind of nice quality of life perks too. So I guess this is kind of what like C tier is kind of becoming, is just they're nice quality of life perks. SWAT has suppression rounds, which increases stumble power of all your perk weapons by 100%. This is also just kind of okay, just like all the stumbling perks. It's all right. So it's going to go to C tier with the rest of them. Submachine guns kind of have more use of it because they have a higher rate of fire, so you're more likely to cause enemies to stumble, but it's just kind of okay. And then we have ammo vest, which increases the ammo you can carry by 30% for all of SWAT weapons. This is pretty useful because you can run out of ammo with SWAT weapons somewhat easily if you don't have like 3 SWAT weapons on your arsenal, like 3 SWAT weapons in your loadout. But having extra ammo is always nice too, so it's probably going to go right next to the other ammo perk. I would say it's a bit more useful than the stumble perk, at least later on in the round. Stumble perk's more useful early on just because you can't make use of the ammo vest as easy. So yeah, still kind of C tier. They're all right. And then we have Survivalist, which has Ammo Vest, which increases the carry capacity of all your ammo by 15% for all weapons. And your grenades become healing grenades. This is actually really useful because healing grenades are really, really nice. And for that alone, I think it's going to go into B tier, because like holding extra ammo is kind of cool, but getting meta grenades is really cool. So, you know, not bad there. And then we have Weapon Harness, which increases your carrying capacity by 5, and your grenades become Molotovs. Now, Molotovs are also really good, and 5 extra weight makes it so you could carry a whole lot more weapons, and it's probably also somewhere into B tier. I'm going to put it right next to the other one. Like, you're not going to take Weapon Harness right away. You're going to take that later into the round, but later into the round, it can be really useful if you want to take, like, an AA-12 and then, like, a centerfire or crossbow or something like that. You know, super useful in that situation. But early on, like, yeah, Molotovs are nice early on, but the meta grenades are even nicer. All right, coming back around to Berserker, we've got Smash. Smash makes it so all the heavy attacks of your melee weapons do 50% more damage. You also do 25% more headshot damage with all weapons, and all of your weapons have 200% more chance to stumble. This is pretty good because the heavy hits from the Berserker and bonus headshot damage is just really nice. And I think I'm going to put Smash probably up into A tier. It's a pretty strong perk and benefits certain weapons a lot. So I'm going to put that one up there. Then we have Massacre. Massacre increases the light attacks of all Berserker weapons by 30% in terms of damage, and you get 5% more swing speed. This can be pretty good on certain weapons. Other weapons don't benefit from this as much, like the Battle Axe. The Pulverizer doesn't necessarily benefit from this a whole lot. They like the Smash perk more. However, Massacre is still pretty good on certain weapons like the Katana, the Road Redeemer, the Hemo Clobberer. Zweihander can make use of it decently well, and like the Bone Breaker. I think Smash is still higher than Massacre, but Massacre is probably going to go to somewhere in the middle of B tier. It's still pretty nice. All right, moving on to Commando, we have Hollow Points, which increases the perk weapon damage by 30%. Damage increase is always nice. This one would have probably gone to S tier before when it had the recoil reduction on it, because honestly, that made Commando's weapons way, way better than they were. Now they've given it, Commando that as a passive, which is much, much nicer. 30% more damage is still kind of nice, but it's probably going to go with the rest of the damage perks. So somewhere into B tier. It's all right, but it's not super necessary anymore. It used to be pretty much like you kind of needed it. Now it's just kind of all right. Then we have Eat Lead. Eat Lead increases the magazine capacity of all your weapons by 100%. This is similar to like the high capacity tanks. It makes certain weapons really, really nice to use with Commando. I'm probably going to put this into B tier, but it's going to be low B tier. It's not going to be as high as Hollow Points. Hollow Points are more useful in my opinion in more situations, but Eat Lead is still pretty useful. Since they've taken away the recoil reduction ability on Hollow Points, Eat Lead has become much more of a tempting option for me. And I've had pretty good success using both. Alright, for support we have Resupply Pack, which increases the amount of ammo that your team gets from you when interacting with you by 20%. It also gives them, or by 30%, and it gives them 20% armor with interacting with you. You can also carry 20% more ammo. This is all around just a really nice perk because it helps out the team, and giving your team more ammo, being able to hold more ammo, and giving out armor is really nice. This one's probably... I think I'm going to put this into low A tier. I'm not sure if it's either like low A tier or high B tier. It's just a nice quality of life improvement for the whole team, really, and makes support even more useful. Because like that extra armor can really add up and really save somebody midway through a round. And we have concussion rounds, which increases the stumble chance of weapons by 150%. Shotguns already stumble things a lot. If you hit anything with the Doomstick, it's going to stumble over. Increasing its stumble chance honestly isn't that useful. Resupply Pack is going to be more useful for you in pretty much every situation, and like this one's also probably like C tier. It's just like the other stumble abilities. Like it's kind of cool, but not really necessary. And most of the shotguns already can do that by themselves. Medic's got Coagulant Booster. This makes it so shooting a healing dart into teammates makes it so they get 10% more damage reduction for 5 seconds up to 30%. That is just really nice. Increased damage reduction is always going to be useful, and being able to supply it to the team is just really good. This one's probably also going to go into A tier. Really good perk. It's going to be higher than these ones. Probably up here with like Resilience. Damage reduction just helps the team out so much, and it's just such a nice perk to have, at least with the team. Again, if you're not with the team, then you're not going to take it, but... Alright, then we have Battle Surgeon, which increases the damage of all your perk weapons by 20%. Medic's weapons already have low damage on them, and Medic can go off perk because they don't get any passive bonus damage with their perks. You're going to take this one playing solo, but I think I'm going to put this one actually into C tier, where I put most of the other damaging perks, you know, higher. This one, like, yeah, it does make certain weapons a little bit nicer. It makes the shotgun a bit nicer, the insurgent a bit nicer, the vampire a bit nicer, but overall it's like, it's not really one that you're going to take when playing with a team. And then we have Demos, Armor Piercing Rounds. This makes it so anybody hit directly in their critical hit spot with your perk weapon takes 50% increased damage. That's really nice. I guess I'd put this in A tier because it is higher damage than your other ones. Again, you can stack these together though and pretty much say this is like an S tier build though for Demo, because you're stacking 25%, 25%, 50%, and I believe these are added together, not percentages of each other. So, you know, if you manage to do all this, you can do a ton of damage with Demo, which already does a ton of damage. And then we have Concussion Rounds. This makes it so increase the reaction, stumble, stun, and knockdown power of all of your weapons by 50%. You will get more stuns with this. This is more useful for weapons that fire quickly, potentially the Seal Squeal, potentially the Seeker 6. If you like those weapons, then it's pretty okay. You can stun lock quite a few enemies with it. It's not as high as like the damage one, but it's probably like lower end of B tier. It's still pretty nice. Firebug's level 20, you have Heat Wave. Heat Wave makes it so any Zed hit point blank is stumbled back. This might not seem all that great, but it's actually a really, really strong ability. This makes it so Firebug can effectively push their way out of any bad situation. And point blank range doesn't necessarily mean like the Zed has to be directly against the barrel of your gun. It can be at any length of the fire that like your flamethrower shoots, or your cock and burn shoots, or like the microwave gun. Any length along their trail counts as being point blank. So it's actually really, really strong for getting you out of positions. and it's one of Firebug's best abilities. And I think it's actually one of the best abilities in the game because I'm going to put this into lower S tier. Being able to just push enemies back is so useful. It's so good, especially when you have a good Firebug that knows how to use it properly and just push things out of the way. It's a very strong perk. And then up next we have the Firestorm, which is increase the range of the Cock and Burn, the Flamethrower, and the Microwave Gun. This one, honestly, none of these really need the increased range. It's okay with them, but it's probably just like a C tier perk. Like, it's just another quality of life perk. That's all right, but not really spectacular or anything like that. So, yeah, I guess C tier is where I would put it. Especially if you're not going to use these weapons. It's D tier if you're not going to use any of these weapons. But if you do plan on using them, it has a little bit of use to it. Then we have Gunslinger's Skullcracker. This makes it so every headshot that you get on enemies slows them down by 30%. This can also kind of stack, not necessarily stack in terms of movement speed. There is kind of a slowdown, though, as the Z creeps back up to their full speed. So keep that in mind. And slowing enemies down by 30% is a lot. It makes it so Gunslinger can outrun anything in the game, and it's pretty ridiculous for kiting. It's a very strong ability. I think I'm going to put this one into higher A tier. It's really good. It's really good with Gunslinger. It makes it so you really don't have to be afraid of much, at least if you have a long or somewhat longish route that you're taking to stay away from them. All right, then we have Knockdown, which is sprinting Zeds take massive increased knockdown power if shot in the leg. Shooting Zeds in the chest with perk weapons massively increases their stumble chance. It's another stumbling perk, which is kind of okay. But that's about it. So C tier as well. I don't know what else to say about it. Like, it gives you a little bit of utility, but not as much as like the Skullcracker does. All right, Sharpshooter's got Deadeye, which reduces the recoil of your weapons by 10% and increases the your headshot damage with all of your perk weapons by 10% when using the iron sights of your gun. This also includes like any of the other sights, like if you're using the ACOG on the M14 or anything like that. This one's just kind of okay. Like 10% more damage is honestly not that much, and like reduced recoil by 10% is again just kind of okay. It's just kind of an okay perk. It's C tier. It's fine. And then we have Always Prepared, which allows you to carry one extra cryo grenade and get 25% more ammo with all of your perk weapons. This one is also just another nice quality of life perk like the other ammo ones. Actually, I'm going to put this one lower. This one's not as good as the Always Prepared, but it's okay. All right, SWAT has Assault Armor, which increases your maximum amount of armor you can have by 50%, so you can go up to 150 armor. You also start out with 50% more armor, so if you take this with the heavy armor training, then it goes up to 100 armor that you start out with. So that is really nice. Increased in armor, and if you're probably going to likely be running this with heavy armor training, which will give you even more armor to start with and make it so that you have more armor to tank through hits with. This does help SWAT out quite a bit, and I think it's actually better than the heavy armor training itself because it increases your max amount of armor. So I'm going to put this one into low A tier. It's a pretty nice perk to have on SWAT. Makes you quite a bit more tanky, and it gives you a lot of value early on. Then we have Stumble, which multiple hits with perk weapons slow enemy Zeds down by 30%. Headshots and weak points, so if you're shooting like a flesh pound in the chest, also increase this twice as fast. This is also a pretty nice perk. It's not as useful as like Skullcracker is, but it's still a pretty nice perk overall, and it's probably like mid B tier. It's pretty good too. And then we have Spontaneous Zed-Splosion for Survivalist. This one is going to go right up next to the other Spontaneous Zed-Splosion for Firebug. It's really, really useful. And it's pretty nice. They can trigger with any weapon, so it's an A tier perk. And then we have Make Things Go Boom, which increases your explosive resistance and the area of effect of explosives by 40%. So you're less likely to blow yourself up, which is pretty useful. And it's still probably C tier. It's higher up C tier than the other, than like demos, just because it does give you the explosive resistance too. But like, it's kind of useful for certain weapons. It depends on what you want to take, but usually Zedsplosion is going to be good no matter what loadout you take, so it's going to go to A tier. This is going to go to like C tier. Alright, and then finally we're getting down to the final perks. These are all the perks that trigger in Zed time, and this video is much longer than I thought it would be, but let's talk about Berserker Rage. This makes it so when Zed time becomes active, you heal 50% of your total health and immobilize all nearby Zeds. That's actually pretty useful, and the heal can come in clutch quite a bit. It's a pretty decent perk overall. Like, it provides a lot of utility, so I think I'm going to put this probably towards the top of A tier, similar to like Parry. Increases your tankiness, and it's a nice health regen perk. But then we have the Spartan, which Spartan makes it so you attack and move in real time as the Berserker. This one is so good. You can get into positions, you can get into good positions, you can get out of bad positions. You can smash enemies so quickly and so effectively with this because they're not guarding themselves at all. They're not able to react whatsoever. This is just a really, really strong perk, and it's probably up into the top of S tier. It's really, really good. Then we have Commandos, which is tactical. This makes it so during Zed time, you reload perks at full speed and switch weapons twice as fast. This one's actually really good if you want to keep the Zed time going, because if you have two large capacity guns, you can switch from one to the next, or potentially even reload in that time. And Commando wants to keep the Zed time going as long as possible. This one's probably also I'm going to say it's a lower S tier perk than like Spartan is. It's still really nice though. It's still really nice on Commando, but it's not as useful as them in my opinion. And then we have Machine Gunner, which makes it so you do 3% more damage with all your weapons, which is like 0%. Don't think about that at all. And then shoot 3 times faster though. 3 times faster is practically real speed, so you can actually deal quite a bit of damage per second with this. I used to run this quite a bit over Tactician, but I've come to think that Tactician is likely better in most situations. And this is probably going to go somewhere into like probably lower A tier. It's okay. It's still a pretty good perk. It's just I think Tactician's a bit more useful in more situations. Then we have Support, which has the Penetrator, which is during Zed time you can penetrate through pretty much all enemies that you hit. We've talked about how great penetration is, and it's not that great. I mean, being able to penetrate through everything is a little bit more useful, but you already can kind of do that. And this is only really useful in like very tight laned maps. So yeah, this perk still isn't that great. I'm going to put it in the bottom of C tier. It's better than the other penetration perks, but it's still not that great. And then we have Barrage, which makes it so you fire your perks pretty much in real time you fire all of your perk weapons in real time. So your shotguns can shoot at practically full speed. This is really useful for certain weapons like the AA-12. And it's a pretty nice perk. There's nothing really fancy about it, but it is just like essentially more damage when you need it. So probably somewhere into A tier. Then we have Airborne Agent from Medic. This makes it so you release healing gas when Zed time triggers. This is super useful because the healing gas also hurts all enemies around you, and it heals all allies as well as apply all of your bonus effects to it. This one's really, really strong, and it's probably also up into S tier. Probably right about there. I don't think it's quite as good as Spartan, but it's still probably S tier because it's just so useful for the team, And especially if all of your team got injured and managed to group back up. Then you can potentially heal the whole team right back up to full and be in the fight immediately if Z time triggers, which is great. Then we have Zeditive, which is during Z times, all of your weapons do increase damage by 30%. This is all medic weapons. And all of your kills generate toxic explosions that hurt all Zeds and heal all allies. This is actually another pretty good one. This perk used to be pretty bad, but since they've changed it, it's pretty good. I still don't think it's as good as Airborne Agent, but it's probably still higher up into A tier, because if you can kill quite a few Zeds with this, especially if you're firing out like medic grenades from the medic rifle or throwing medic grenades around, you can again heal the whole team up and create a very good, dense, safe zone for your team to run into. So very good as well. All right, then we have Demo, which has the Destroyer of Worlds perk. This makes it so all of your explosions cause nuclear explosions in Z time, dealing damage over time, poisoning all Zeds, and the explosion rounds will explode at any range so long as they hit during it. This perk is crazy good. You do so much damage with this, and it applies to every single one of your explosions. So if you fire out like all 5 harpoons from your seal squill and set them all off during Z time, you're going to have 5 nukes going off, and you just stack up so much damage. You deny so many areas with this. This thing is like top of S tier, where the nuke just belongs. It's so powerful. Then we have Mad Bomber, which is during Z time, you shoot and reload near real speed, and the area of effect of all of your weapons is increased by 25%. Your explosions will also go off at any range. I believe people have told me this also has increased knockback potential, which is useful, and maybe one other ability. This one's still pretty good. It's competing with like Destroyer of Worlds. It's not as good as Destroyer of Worlds, but it's still pretty nice, because you do essentially get a carpet bomb a lot of places because you are reloading and firing pretty much at real time. So it's still probably like an A tier perk. It's still pretty good. And we have Pyromaniac for Firebug, which is you attack pretty much in real time and you never run out of ammo. That is actually really, really good, especially if you're a very good Firebug, because you can essentially light an entire room on fire and kill everything in it. Doesn't matter if there's a whole bunch of big stuff in it. The fire over time will kill it so fast. It is like this perk is really nice on pretty much any weapon that you're using with Firebug. Certain weapons don't benefit from it the most. I think I'm going to put this into high A tier because it is just so nice. And we have Inferno, which Inferno makes it so all Zeds are slowed by 30% by your fire and take 50% more burning damage. This is also pretty good. This helps out with other weapons like the microwave gun and the flamethrower. However, it doesn't necessarily affect all enemies. I mean, 30% slow is still quite nice. So I think just because it has 30% slow, I'm going to put it at low A tier. It's not as useful as like Pyromaniac in most situations, but it's still not bad by any means. Now we have Gunslinger. This is Whirlwind of Lead. This makes it so you have infinite ammo when shooting. You don't shoot any faster, but you do have infinite ammo. This will help you over time, and it's kind of a nice perk. It's honestly not like as impactful as some of these other like Z time perks are, though. And for that, I think I'm going to put it at the top of B tier. It's all right. It's actually kind of fun to use with the grenade pistol because you don't need to use the reload animation, so you can just keep firing it nonstop. And like I said, it will help you out. It's kind of nice because you're not consuming any additional ammo, but if you fired at regular speed too, I think it'd even be better, similar to like the Pyromaniac ability. That might be a little bit too strong, but you never know. And then we have Fanfire, which increases pretty much your shooting speed at full time. So it's kind of like you took like Pyromaniac and split it into 2 different ones for Gunslinger, and they both ended up being okay, but not as good as if you combined them. Sharpshooter has Assassin, which makes it so every headshot that you get with perk weapons is 5%, has a 5% chance to trigger Z time, which is really useful for the team. And during Z time, increases your headshot damage with all perk weapons by 35%. 35% more damage is kind of nice. It's like it's mostly the passive chance to trigger Z time that makes this one really good. And for that, I'm gonna put it into S tier. Like it's gonna be low S tier because like the increased damage is just kind of okay, but just like the increased chance to trigger Z time helps out the team so much. And then we have Ranger, which also has a 5% chance to trigger Z time, and this makes it so any enemy shot in the head is stunned. This is pretty strong too. This is a pretty strong status effect. I'd actually rate this a little bit higher than Assassin. Like being able to stun everything is pretty nice in Z time, assuming that you're able to hit headshots. Certain weapons like the FAL and the M14 will help you out doing that because you just have more ammo, so you can hit more headshots. You can also do it with like lever actions pretty easily too. And then we have SWAT, which SWAT has battering ram, which makes it so you move pretty much in real time like you do a Spartan. And whenever you whenever you run into a Z, you knock them down and deal high damage to them. This is a pretty useful perk. The main problem is this isn't like Spartan with Berserker, though, where Berserker is naturally very tanky. SWAT is tanky, assuming you're building like the tank build for them, but as soon as they run out of armor, then they become pretty squishy. So you don't necessarily want to be running that. That being said, you still can get into some pretty good positions with it. So I'm going to put battering ram probably also into higher A tier. It's pretty good. Then we have rapid assault. Rapid assault makes it so all of your weapons shoot pretty much in real time. You have a 100% increased stumble chance, and you have infinite ammo with all of your weapons. This is just really good. This is high up into A tier, right next to Pyromaniac. Both of these perks are great. Very, very strong and very useful perks overall. And then we come to our final class, which is Survivalist. So we have Madman here, which makes it so you shoot all of your weapons 3 times faster during Z time, which is pretty much real time, which is that's pretty nice depending on your loadout. Certain weapons are definitely going to benefit more from that than others, so I think I'm going to put this probably into B tier next to like the gunslinger ones that are very similar to it. And then we have Lockdown, which makes it so all of your weapons can stun any Z. This is with any shot. And this really, really helps with certain weapons that have a really high fire rate or just hit very indiscriminately like the Kaboom stick. Lockdown is potentially more useful than Madman. I think I'm going to put this into low A tier, but I still usually take Madman over Lockdown, even though both of them are quite good. And I think Lockdown is a little bit better. So this is my complete list, ranking all of the perks in Killing Floor 2 for the levels. I hope you guys enjoyed this. This took quite a while to put together. Thanks for watching. I really do appreciate that. And tell me what other kind of lists or Killing Floor related content you would like to see, or any other related content you would like to see. I'm always for suggestions down in the comments below. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will talk to all of you guys next time. Until then, stay cool, and bye.